Hello everyone and welcome to Community Care. We've got lots of great interviews coming up for you today and the guys have been working really hard. So first of all we're going to go straight over to Lewis Sharpe, who's interviewing Connor Hughes. He's a goalkeeper for Holyhead Reserves and he's been running 59 miles for cancer research.
So you're going to be running 58 miles in February. Where did the idea come about? Obviously you're going to be raising money for cancer research as well.
Yeah, so I was just scrolling through Facebook really, and I started running beginning of January because I weighed myself and ended up being 17 stone. So I was like, that can't happen. So I was scrolling through Facebook and I just seen one of these groups running for Cancer Research UK. So I thought I'd have a quick look at it, see what it's all about. And there was 59 miles it was, and I thought to myself, if I can do it, because I'm quite fairly fit. I'm overweight, but I am fit. So I thought I'd give it a go. Had a look into it and decided that I was going to do it. Obviously, it's hard. You've had everyone's. It's a horrible thing to say, but most people have probably had cancer affect them somehow, haven't it? So that's one of the main reasons I've done it. Really, just to sort of raise some kind of funds to help people.
Yeah, so you touched on it a bit there. It's really important, don't you think, for cancer research to be getting more and more money?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Especially with obviously coronavirus coming out now as well. They've said that they've had to. It's slowed them down a little bit, hasn't it? So it is a massive thing. It's still for it still to affect people like today. It's obviously a big problem, isn't it?
You've raised over £100 already. Obviously, it's not even February yet. It's January 28th now when we're filming this. What's your end goal by the end of it, Joe? Maybe to get £200, £300?
Honestly, it doesn't really bother me, So getting this £100 is bloody, it's great, really.
Yeah.
I'm expecting to get that much, to be honest. I thought 150 was just me being, I might as well put it as a mark. Again, going back to COVID again, everyone's obviously might be in some kind of financial hardship, something along the lines of that. So I wasn't expecting people to be given as much money as they have. So it's a shock, and it's going to motivate me even more, isn't it? So the more money I get, obviously, it just keep pushing me on.
Yeah. So would you urge other friends to do it as well, do you think, to, more people to do it, raise more money, raise more awareness?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, 100%. If obviously I've told some of my friends that I'm doing this, and I've obviously made it public on Facebook as well. But again, what I don't want to do as well, I don't want to pressure too much people having to give money as well. That's the main thing. It is, like, to me, it's very important, obviously, to beat cancer and everything like that. But it's about obviously being able to afford to give the money as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So you've touched on it a bit then. Do you think it'll be a really driving, motivating factor for you, when you're struggling on these runs? Do you think knowing in the back of your mind that you're raising good money for a good cause, is that going to push you on?
Oh, definitely. Even like now, I'm sort of just training for it now, really. But that is pushing me on now to get the miles in and stuff like that, which it is good. And it's, like I said, it's for a good cause, isn't it? So that it's just got to keep pushing me on. And I'm hoping to do more than obviously 59 miles. But with having this in the background, obviously more miles I can do is obviously just going to keep on pushing me, moving me forward.
Have you got a schedule as well? Have you planned out, in the first week you're going to do this amount of miles, the second week build it up, or are you just going to go for it?
So the plan is to do at least 20 miles a week. And if anything does happen in those weeks, something might pop up, work, something like that, or God forbid, COVID, 10 days, flipping isolated, something like that. So if I do the 20 miles, then that gives a bit of space for any errors to pop up, anything like that. So that's why I'm going to aim for 20 miles. It's not too much. It's about, well, obviously 10k, 6.1 miles, isn't it? So if I just do a few 10ks a week with 5ks here and there, I should be able to do it fine.
Well done, Connor. Wish you the best of luck on it, mate. Thanks so much for your time as well.
No problem. Thank you. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Lewis. And now we're going to go back to you, Lewis. And you got Louis with you this time, and you're talking to three guys from Rhiwbina Rugby Club. They have been running and raising money for Mind and School of Hard Knocks.
So the first question, how did the idea come about for the fundraising in the first place?
So we had a phone call. So initially we done a little video for Di just to, some of our memories and everything. And then I had a phone call on a Sunday, seeing if we could get about 10 runners to run 50 miles. And then by the 1st of January, we were running 100 kilometers and there was 250 people involved. It snowballed straight away. There was no quiet period in between the 4 days that we had to get it all ready. So, and it wasn't a lot of organising either. Everyone was putting their hands forward, and it was brilliant.
It was amazing. I think, but for us, Dave's been such a big part of our lives, so that when we heard the news, we felt like we'd been punched in the gut. So we all, as players, just wanted to show in any way possible that we're behind him. And there's not a lot we could do other than say, right, let's form a physical act to show we're here with him. Let's put ourselves through it as well, to show that although he's going through it, we're with him every step of the way. And we hate running, so that seemed like a good way to show it.
Yeah.
And then Dave's always loved our pain through exercise. So
so what started off as, obviously, as you mentioned, 10 people trying to come together running. You had an initial target of £1,000 on the Just Giving page. Now today you've gone over £30,000. How did you choose the charities that you've chosen?
Maybe I'd answer that. They were just two charities that I identified. Both are quite small charities, don't get a vast amount of funding. The one, the School for Hard Knocks, as you probably know, is a rugby-based charity to help people into a rugby environment, to try and help them with their lives. People who maybe who haven't had the best start in life, and try and get them back on the straight and narrow with the influence of rugby. And then this 50% of people of males who die under 50, the biggest killer is suicide. So the Mind Cardiff is specifically looking into that situation, and again, not particularly well funded. So two small local charities that I identified that I'd like to have supported, and which is what we've done now for January.
I'm sure the money you've given as well, that you will have raised, is going to really help them. Di, personally for you, is there over 300 runners? Does that fill you with pride that so many people have come together to help the community? It's
completely overwhelming. I can't express just what it actually means. It's just for these people to come out and run it in my name and for the charities is just completely phenomenal.
Yeah, so just to start it off, just wondering if anyone's actually finished the 100 kilometers yet, and if not, whereabouts are you guys?
Yeah, we've there's quite a few who today quite a few people have broke the mark. I managed to get over it a couple of days ago, but there's some guys in there who have just pulled out some unbelievable performances. James Malpas, one of our players, walked 100 kilometers in one day. Some of the guys are on 200-300k that they've been pushing now, and it's just been an absolutely incredible display of it, and it's all sheer determination for wanting to just get out there and get behind Di. And some of the work the guys have been putting in is amazing. The WhatsApp group that we've got proved to be an incredible support network. Rugby's full of banter and taking the mick out of each other, but equally, when you're in your darkest times on the pitch and off the pitch, you've got each other's back. And this month, this WhatsApp group, this rugby club, has been a real show of rugby community coming together, and the boys, just pushing each other on every day.
But it is really good to hear that even in times like these, as a team, you are sticking together. It's really nice to hear that. But obviously, motivation is going to be a big thing in a task like this. How much of a motivation was it that the fact you were raising the money for charity? How much of a motivation was that for you guys?
Obviously, it's all about raising the money for the charity, but I think the main motivator has been Dave, because we know what he is going through, and us running 100 kilometers is nothing compared to what Dave's got to go through at the moment. So that's our main motivator. And also, we were saying about the WhatsApp group. This boy's really putting some quite inspirational stuff on there. It just makes it easy. I wasn't going to go out tonight. I've got 5k left, but I'm having a coffee now, and after this is finished, I'll be going out and finishing my 100. So, you watch a couple of videos, and all of a sudden you want to go out again.
So obviously, it's massively gained a lot of publicity in terms of people like Sam Warburton, Alan Wynne-Jones, even the Welsh Rugby Union themselves have spread the message as well. Do you think it's really the rugby community's come together to raise more awareness, raise more money, and how do you think that's impacted the amount of money that has been raised?
I think so. I think what's been lovely to see is other clubs hearing about it. Anyone who's played against Rhiwbina, the other clubs, they straight away, you played against Rhiwbina? Do you know Dave Hobbs? Oh, yeah, I remember him. We heard him from the other side of the pitch. And, Dave is always, any team to come back to our clubs, he's the first one to welcome them and greet them back. And the other clubs know him and like him and respect him. And so when people heard of this and what we were doing, other clubs as well have got involved. Club Rugby Cardiff, a load of their boys put a video out, giving support and showing how that they've been running some miles together. Lanish and RFC, it's been fantastic to see other clubs just wanting to get behind our message and support each other. And that's the beauty of rugby, isn't it? You beat hell out of each other for 80 minutes on the pitch, but then the whistle goes and you shake each other's hand and you have a pint. And as a community, if you need something together, you all come together for each other, and it's been a really lovely thing to see.
So just coming back to you, Di, obviously you appeared on a feature for ITV. Just wondering how that came about and how you actually found doing that.
It was fantastic. For me, believe it or not, I don't court publicity. Some people might dispute that, but it was what's great for the charities, and if the publicity helped the charities, then it was the right thing to do, and it was fantastic. And I think it's clearly the right thing to do, because the amount of money that's in the coffers at the moment, it's been fantastic. So yeah, I was very happy to be part of that with the other people involved as well.
Thank you all so much for your time. Honestly, it's so inspirational to see, Di coming on, speaking to others with a smile on his face, going through what you're going through at the minute, and the boys as well. I'm sure after all the hundreds of kilometres you've ran, I'm sure that's been quite difficult as well. So thank you so much for your time coming on to speak to us. You don't know how much we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thanks, Lewis. Thanks, Louis.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, guys. And now we're going to go over to Jack and Josh. Jack and Josh were interviewing Barry John, who is the manager of Wales six-side football team and also works for the NHS.
So thank you for joining us today, Barry. What could you tell us a bit about your role during COVID and how you've helped to combat the effects of the virus?
Obviously, as you know, I work in a hospital within a digital services environment. So obviously when COVID really kicked off last February, March, we were tasked with ensuring that all awards had the correct access to IT kit. We had to ensure that a lot of people could work from home, because the government guidelines were, if you had the facility to work from home, please do so. So there was less people around transmitting the disease. So I dread to think how many laptops we have rolled out as a health board to ensure that people could work from home. To see some of the stuff we put in place. If I give you an example, obviously we've, as a university health board, we still are committed to train junior doctors. The junior doctors would follow a consultant on his ward rounds. But what they're saying on the ward is, we don't want to have excess people on the wards. Unless you need to be on the ward, we don't want you here. So we've put a system in place where the consultant takes a iPad on a trolley, puts it by the side of the patient's bed. We'll obviously get permission and consent of the patient in the first instance to see if they're okay with a a remote team session. So the junior doctors are either in the postgrad lecture theatre, they're at home, and they can watch then the consultant doing a ward round, speaking to whoever it is in the bed, watching how he examines the patient, so that we're still teaching them, and we're teaching them without the risk of them bringing an infection into the ward or them obviously getting the infection. The less people are on the ward, the better.
What do you think needs to change when our daily lives get back to normal?
And being honest, I think the COVID-19 pandemic has probably forced healthcare to change the way they worked. Whereas before, every patient would come in to see the consultant. Well, a lot of them consultations now are being done remotely. So save Mrs. whoever coming in to see the consultant, you know, they would do it over the Teams or we use an application on site here called Attend Anywhere, which is where the consultant can see his patient remotely. Yeah, better for the patient because they're in their own environment at home. Some people struggle to drive if they're elderly. You know, if a patient's had an operation, it could be a hip replacement or a knee replacement, and they're not as mobile, then they can just have a remote Teams consultation. So I think going forward as a healthcare, we will change the way that we work. I don't think we will go back to the way we were, say, 18 months ago. We will change for the better. I just think COVID has forced us. We've been quite fortunate. Obviously, Welsh Government have supported the health boards with extra funding to make sure all these change of practices are in place. But yeah, I think that I can't see us going back to how we did work. Sorry.
What has been your biggest achievement during the pandemic, personally, for you, would you say?
I think within the work environment, to implement the system so that we can still have patients see their relatives, I think was a big one. Yeah, they've done it in quite a few of the hospitals that I'm part of, and to be part of that, that's helped roll that out, especially to the hospital where I'm based, I think is crucial. But I think the biggest achievement outside work is just to stay healthy, keep supporting people, you know, and just help people get through it. Like I say, it's going to be tough. Got a tough few months still ahead of us, but we just got to work together to try and come through this horrible disease.
Yeah, and in terms from your six-a-side work,
yes,
how important a role would you say that's had on people's mental health and well-being?
I think, to be fair, I think it's been massive. You know, when the pandemic started in February, March, forget the exact date, they stopped the six-a-side for a good few months. And then we were quite fortunate to start back up later on in the year, and we had a good few weeks of it. And you could just see people, they were happy just to be out of the house, doing a bit of exercise. Some people, you know, I know the guidelines were that you could still carry on doing exercise. But with the gyms being closed, some people weren't disciplined enough just to put a pair of trainers on and go for a run. They liked the team environment because, you know, by playing six-a-side, you get to see your mates again. Plus you were doing an activity and it was competitive. If you went for a run, okay, it's nice, it's fitness, but people like to have that competitiveness tonight.
Cheers. Thank you, Barry, and all the work you do. Thank you.
No problem, boys.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers, Jack. Cheers, Josh. Finally, we're going to go over to Matthew Skinner, who is interviewing Michelle Barry from a local school. And they have challenged their students to run, walk, or cycle 30 miles in 30 days.
So for Time to Talk today, community care, we've got in contact with Michelle Barry at Ysgol Pont, Norton, where my daughter goes. And it's the 30 days and 30 miles challenge. How did that come about?
So I live in Merthyr Tydfil, and I just happened to see on Active Merthyr's Facebook page that they'd started a very similar challenge, walk 30 miles in 30 days. So I signed my family up for that. And then it got me thinking, whereas although education is obviously our primary goal at this current period, we're also very careful with regard to the children's well-being, and we want to encourage their mental health and their well-being during what is a very difficult situation for children. So it got me thinking maybe I could tailor something very similar to the school and specifically more for younger children, because obviously we're primary school, so I wanted something that would appeal to younger children as well. And the idea of getting the whole family involved really, really felt it was a challenge that we could work on as a whole school and target all our parents, all our families. So I tailored it a little bit, that I changed it from just walking to encouraging them to go on their bikes and cycle, running, as well as walking. So that's it basically. So I basically created a sheet where the children could track their progress. So for every mile they complete, they colour a little picture. And then in order to encourage that aspect of education for the junior children, and specifically year 5 and 6, so the older children in the school, I encourage them to track the amount of time they spent doing each exercise, and using Google Sheets, which is very similar to Microsoft Excel. They record the amount of time they spend doing each exercise, which can then be used for future maths or science lessons. We advertise all of this using the platforms that we use for our remote learning and on the school website. And I also put it up on the school's PTA Ffrindiau site. So a group of parents that support the children and support the school with raising money. I put it up on their Facebook page as well. And I'm really pleased to say we've had a really great response so far.
Can you see the 30-mile challenge coming in to be a regular thing? To say, like, in January?
I'd like to think so. I think I've currently just shared with our hub staff here. There is a challenge on. There's a Mr. Fit, he's called. He's on YouTube, and he basically does some exercises, and they only last about 5 or 6 minutes. But it's all in Welsh, which is great. He starts off with an oggy 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 type of thing, and it gets the children really going. And yeah, so he started a February health challenge, and this week is it's Mental Health for Children Week. So we are going to look at next week, maybe using a day where we encourage the children to just be completely away from the screen. So lots of art activities, health and fitness. And like I say, he started this challenge. So I've just shared that with the hub staff. So that's another thing that we can look at, and again, it's pulling that Welsh language, that use of the Welsh language. The children can hear it, they can follow along. And yeah, hopefully, I think this may be things that we need to consider doing moving forward, if it continues to be as popular and as successful as it appears to be.
Yeah, the one thing from homeschooling is definitely the fact that I'm speaking a lot more Welsh.
yeah, which is great, isn't it? And I mean, one of the things we have sent home with the challenge, the family challenge, was I managed to find some like bingo activities. So like the children, as they're walking around, they've got to look for some things, so pine cones, certain trees and birds, and they sort of tick them off as they're going along. So it's a bit of a treasure hunt and a nature treasure hunt. So I've sort of created a little pack, and they've gone out to the teachers. So I've encouraged them to share sort of one every now and again, so they don't bombard the parents with everything in one go. And every now and again they send them something else, so they can go out when they're out and about, when parents are out and about, and the children can use their sheets and they can tick off what they found. And again, it's using that language, so that in both Welsh and English, the children and the parents then learn that little bit of Welsh, which goes towards helping the language charter and reaching those millions of Welsh speakers. So
yeah, and I think it's good as well, because if you're with those little challenges, I know from like Izzy speaking to, I think it was Elle, and she was and she mentioned it. And so they've got that thing. It's like, oh, have you found this one? No, I haven't found it. I found this one. So it's a school outside.
Yeah, and to a certain extent as well. I mean, when children are in school, we've got so wide and so vast a curriculum. We don't always have the opportunity to spend time learning about things like birds and nature, and learning about acorns and the different names for the trees and things like that. So this is a nice opportunity to do that type of thing, where we're not putting pressure on anybody, and the children, they're learning, they don't really realize they're learning, which is the best type of learning. So yeah, so if we can move forward with that type of thing, that's brilliant.
Great. Michelle, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Thanks for that, Matthew. That's all we've got time for now today, guys, on community care. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have learned something.